incredibly strong, unless they want to go for something in the like the Thresh and the support role. But honestly, with like the Aphelios already gone, the Jinx gone, the Thresh priority just kind of goes out the window with them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what do you pick up? Where do we see the next ADC pool come through for teams? But as you had mentioned, it is a Zhao that is locked in for such a potent jungler right now. And here's one of our picks to watch, the secondary line of aggression that you can go for. And Jhin has been an extremely useful utility ADC in the meta right now, especially with the way things are panning out.
But that's the thing, right? He's a utility carry, and Lwx has been the just outright DPS carry. So the fact that we're getting him onto Jhin ain't gonna look quite as quite as well for the team fights. However, we still see a very strong bot lane coming through from the Jhin Leona can give a huge amount of pressure for Beichuan to try and play down there. And one pick that has snuck through the draft is that Diana. It's been almost 100% presence, and the fact that Beichuan could still go towards the Diana, have a strong bot lane to set him up, you could then look to get this Diana rolling and be a menace in those team fights.
I could definitely appreciate the Ezreal lock in here, as well as the Braum, which I did find an interesting combo in those two, but the Ezreal right now just provides so much flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, Ezreal, wonderful on the bot side. You kind of just keep it afar, means that it's very difficult for Jhin and Leona to try and lock you down, and the Braum just to follow up as well. If Leona ever engages, toss up that shield. Not really going to get too much done in that bot lane. Plus, when we get towards team fights, you're going to be able to stop a lot of those shots from coming in from Jhin. So, kind of a more defensive bot lane for LGD, but Beichuan will get his hands on that Lee Sin. A terrifying bot lane trio if FPX want to play down towards this.
It absolutely is. And one thing I love, and kind of going back to something they had earlier, is the Leona lock-in for Hong. I think that is the tool that FPX needs to ensure that Hong is feeling good and confident. And I think for this first game, that's a wonderful way to set him up. Now we are into the second phase of bans. It is the Syndra banned away by FPX. Definitely don't want that stability in the mid lane, Dagda.
I'm curious to see, though, what we're going to get for LGD side, though, because right now you're missing a huge amounts of engage tools. So I kind of like that FPX are going towards stuff like the Syndra, because that's something that can be used both as a long range tool if you want to go full range with LGD's comp, or if you want to try and use it as engage. So I think definitely I'll be looking to see if LGD maybe are looking at something like a Twisted Fate in the mid lane if they want to try and go for some sort of engage, or if they're just going to rely on Fearness to go towards something like a Kennen or something along these lines that can find those flanks and set up fights for LGD.
We do have the Akali banned away as the last ban for FPX in this first game. The Jace was banned away by LGD, so definitely focusing towards this top side, which both teams will be doing, right? We're lacking our solo laners right now, and it's definitely going to be the big focus in phase 2 as the Gwen joins the ban table for LGD.
All right, Gori just going to go back towards his Corki. Gori's had a bit of a struggle in the lane phase. We actually saw him get solo killed by xiaolaohu when he was on the Corki that Victor. So
come on.
I know, but I mean, I want to see. Yeah, G was having a bit of a run of the mill against Forge, so I'm curious. Like Gori, we're taking a step down now from xiaolaohu, how he's going to perform, but we're going to get the Galio. I need something to engage here. Maybe it's the Camille here for Fearness, but like, I'm not seeing a huge amount of things that you can like set up as like a big engage tool. So there it is. Okay, yeah. So Camille Galio combo to actually be that engage setup. Great play towards the top side of the map. And LGD, again, very much setting up to play around Fearness. This was something that we talked about from summer 2021. It's something that we saw in their last game as well when he was on that Akali and he popped off with 9 kills. So LGD certainly going, hey, look, screw your meta. We know what our playstyle is, and we're going to run it back.
Yeah, and the Jax comes through as the final pick for FPX, definitely enabling xiaolaohu in the top side as well. And you know, we set up for the spot lane craziness, all the focus down there, but we're getting some pretty soft lanes down there. So it looks like maybe the chaos will be elsewhere this time around, but it also shows a little bit of that growth, that adaptation for both these teams.
Yeah, I definitely like the game plan LGD is coming with, right? Ezreal, Braum, you're not going to kill them. You're not going to be able to do much against them. So completely neutralize what has been the strong point of FPX and then play through what is your style with the Galio, the Camille set up for those great plays. Top, you have the better 2v2 both in mid and top thanks to that JinJiao. So I mean, you're in a pretty good spot if you want to try and make plays happen, but I definitely feel like for LGD side, it's wait till 6, then start to move. Whereas when you look across at FPX's side, if they do want to try and make plays down the bottom side, you can do so very quickly from the get-go. And even Gori on this Corki as well is going to do a lot of work if he can get that first roam with things like the package.
Yeah, the trigger pull for FPX is very, very stout. And if they can have the execution and communication on that, it's going to be scary to deal with. But you got to respect the amount of zoning tools that LGD has when you look at those team fights, when you look at the later game, right? And both these teams are definitely having some later game aspects to them here. You got one side with the double marksman, the other side with a lot of late game scaling. But I think the biggest ticket here is going to be looking at that early game and realizing where those leads are starting to develop, where the strategy of both these teams are going to be, and possibly not towards that bot lane, right, Dagda? And as we get to go on to Summoner's Rift for the first time of today, it is our kickoff best of 3 between LGD and FPX. The battle starts now.
Oh, it's good to have our, like, it feels so good to be coming into 3 best of 3s, because you just kind of, it's like LPL finishes and I'm kind of like, well, what do I do with the rest of my day? But now I'm just like, I just watch more LPL. It's
more
just wonderful.
LPL injected in my veins. Okay, we get a little replay of that early level 1. Did actually burn the flash out of Hung. So nicely done from LGD to start us off.
Honestly, with the way Hung plays, that's just like a regular ability. So I don't know if it really matters if they burn it. So, and it's not really going to matter too much in the long run, right? We've already kind of said Ezreal and Braum, not exactly a lane that you play around. So unless FPX are massively out of position, they're not really going to be able to do too much with that burn. So I think for the moment, you're still going to be relatively okay for Hung. And it looks like at the moment with junglers starting on opposite sides, maybe we actually see some sort of early play bot side for Beichuan, because he can go like 3 camp into a bot side play if he so chooses.
Good. I think that's also where we're going to have to kind of watch. I alluded to keeping an eye on these junglers, but with these opposite side starts, see where their big focus is going to be. I still, even though it's not 2021 anymore, I still love the uniqueness of the pathing that can be achieved with Lee Sin. And we got Beichuan taking his Lee Sin against Shadow. Not too shabby, not too big of a confidence stealer right there, right?
I mean, yeah, Shadow has been like, was the best LEC Lee Sin that we had as he came across the LPL, but has definitely been preparing the JinJiao as we go into the 2022 split. Just crazy strong, wins out in the early skirmishes and the duels against the Lee Sin, so definitely makes things a lot easier as Fearness actually managing to crash this wave. Tried to freeze it, but wasn't able to. So I don't think we're going to see too much action up on this top side. With that second wave crash, it means you're just going to get that reset and going to make it nice and easy for Shadow to just continue on his journey through the woods.
Through the woods, a magical journey, if you will. I bet there's no bard this time around. Yeah, and we're still waiting for the first skirmishes at least to happen. It's been constant fighting back and forth between these 2 top laners, but that's going to be consistent at least as we go. And it looks like we're going to get a little bit of a later inclusion of these junglers into the game.
Yeah, it feels like so much of this matchup, though, depends on these 2 top laners, right? Because when you look at the both compositions, right, LGD are set up very much for a 1-3-1. They want to try and play through sides, so they need to be getting Fearness ahead in the early stages, but FPX have a pretty good way of dealing with it, right? Corki totally fine and just sit in the side lane and clear. You've got a Jax who literally wants to be in a side lane, and even has the opportunity to fight toe-to-toe against the Camille in the later points, so definitely it feels like whoever gets these leads in the early stages top is going to just kind of break open the game on either side. So we'll have to see if LGD can do that. The Shadow's already top side, but Beichuan, he's sitting around this bot side, as we said, 100% for our kill participation, 15 minutes for Lwx, and Beichuan wants to see if he can keep that stat.
Like, all right, maybe we didn't draft all the way for this. We're going to make it happen no matter what. But it is actually pretty impressive to be able to keep this pressure up on the bot side while you can get that invade, making sure you can always have that safety for Beichuan.
And I mean, speaking of safety, nice job from xiaolaohu on the top side, right? Sees that Shadow's more than likely going to be coming up with Beichuan invading onto that bot side, so he actually gets the reset in, TP's back to lane, picks himself up the pot on the door and blade to start things off and make sure that he's going to be all right. And Fearness even TPing back, but
we're getting our 2v2 here, though. Beichuan has to get away with a ward hop. Nicely done. Almost caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah, just about able to escape. Flash for flash in the end, so it's going to be burnt on both sides. But if we end up just kind of sitting here and, you know, things are going back and forth, we're trading tip for task, it kind of works out in favor of, bad turn, in favor of FPX. Exactly, yeah, because for FPX, right, you've got good wave clear if you're looking at Lwx, but Gori's just going to farm this first try.
Ooh, nice wind becomes lightning to start off the fight. Flash will be burned by xiaolaohu, so definitely a return gank to be had down towards top, or up towards top side. Now down towards bot side. He almost had a 2v2 between these two cheeky bot laners, but nothing going to come of it. Wave in an awkward spot though for FPX.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really going to be too much for LGD, right? They don't really have the damage at the moment, and I'm looking forward to seeing the build that Eric goes towards, because we've seen so many different variations coming out from the Ezreal, right? We've got, like, the Manamune into the Essence Reaver, Crown of the Shadow Queen one, which I hope he goes, because I just think it's so much fun, it's so much poke,
really
and
is.
The damage that can come out is absolutely insane.
He just put the ignite on him. Oh my god. Hung is a boss. I don't care. He just won like every split award we could give to him. He just won it. I don't care. Just outright pop the ignite just for the gigs. Just for the giggles.
Oh, it's the setup though.
But
it's
it kept them here.
Get the full use.
Kept them here. It's huge. Like, to keep them in lane like that when they want to reset to get the engage like that from Hung, it is impossible for LGD to find a response here unless Shadow can change their fate. I think both sides will just back off. You do have Gori right here focusing down. The Zenith blade goes forward. The heroic entrance to back them off. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Beichuan getting so low. The taunt's going to connect. LGD might have just found it. And they do. That's a couple quick kills and make it more. Eric is going nuts. That's a triple kill.
This Ezreal is going to be huge. 3 kills already picked up. You're going to end up being able to shove in this wave as well, deny a bunch of that CS. Oh, it's a disaster for FPX, and we'll catch it here in the replay, right? They think, hell yeah, we got this, but as we said, it's so difficult to lock down this Braum and Ezreal. Eric, Arcane shifts away, JinJiao is able to flash out, and it buys enough time for Shadow to show up, and this is what we're talking about. The ability for this Galio to come in and disrupt the plays on bottom side for FPX is just beautiful. Barely catching Gori and also the Lee Sin on the back of that. So Beichuan falls, everyone falls, and Eric is in such a good spot to carry now.
Yeah, I mean, they did get a couple kills traded back, but it's when you're giving all the kills to Ezreal, that's all that really matters, right? And you've got the Manamune coming through all ready for this very stout Ezreal. And it's LGD looking good to begin with. Does have one thing not going for them, and it is a dragon going to FPX.
I mean, it's not the end of the world though, right? Like, this was always bound to happen just with the push that Lwx has. So the fact that you're losing out on the dragon, but you picked up all these kills is going to bode far better for you in the future. You can see Manamune already completed, so he's going to be stacking that even faster towards Muramana, Shadow, mid to help push this in. But yeah, honestly, this is a great start for LGD, and this is what we're mentioning, was LGD are a team that love to run off of early game advantages, while FPX just handled it.
Beichuan looking for the top side gank onto Fearness. They do find him. The kick comes back to xiaolaohu gets his first kill of the game.
Yeah, Fearness getting baited by the fact that he had Shadow and G in the river, thinking that there's no way that Beichuan could be here, but xiaolaohu and Beichuan get that kill top side, get a good amount of gold in for xiaolaohu as well, and sets himself up a little bit nicely to try and be that sideline pressure that we we're talking about.
Of early objective control coming out for FPX so far. 100% after they get the restore. No, Lwx. Hung is right over the wall. Maybe it was a bait. Maybe it's Maybelline. We'll see if Lwx can get away. JinJiao is going in onto the Jhin. The true shot barrage over the flash comes out from FPX. Now we get Gori down in the mid lane against Shadow in a 1v1 deck.
Yeah, just caught in transition there, wasn't able to do much, and LGD, they are losing objectives, but they're picking up elsewhere on the map. So, kill, mid, flash, bot, a turret plate as well, it looks like, going the way of Eric on that bot side of the map. Maybe the blue buff here of Beichuan is in the area.
LWX very low on health down here. We get a lot of bodies congregating down towards this bottom side of the map. Looks like a reset will come out as we get the replay.
Yeah, and it looks like, yeah, Gori just started to roam up to see if they needed help on towards that Rift Herald. Has no flash thanks to that bottom lane play, so Shadow just able to pick him off. Doesn't even need G's help in that equation, so nice job from Shadow just to pick them off. But now I want to see how FPX are going to try and right this ship. You've got this Rift Herald, you've already got a kill on the top side. It feels like your best bet is to kind of just forget about the bot lane, forget about the normal plays that you see. Try and set up xiaolaohu to be this big carry, because if he can take over in the side lane, it buys you time for Lwx to get his items. Gori to become that late game Corki that we've all seen. Just get yourself into a position where you can slowly but surely get yourself back in.
I hope they got some duct tape for those leaks. The boat is definitely a little bit sideways right now, but they'll correct. The biggest thing, right, I love that you brought up Gori. I do see Gori as the late game carry. Needs to find how he's going to be able to do that. Starts by getting a kill in mid lane. Oh, the Dragon Rage kick kicks him away. And yeah, G gets out.
I think that was a bit of a panic one for Beichuan. Was like, hold on, where the hell are Shadow and JinJiao coming from? This is turning into more people that we'd bargained for. But does mean package not really going to great use for Gori. Beichuan no longer having that Dragon's Rage as well means FPX going to be taking a little bit of a slower backseat.
Vision LGD has in the enemy jungle right now, like especially towards the blue side rather, and they are constantly using it to spring traps on FPX. Speaking of Gori, I thought he was gonna fall into that one, that big bear trap waiting for him in the jungle, but will not do so just yet.
Yeah, I like the idea here from LGD though, right? You're like, hey look, Gori has the package. Let's try and make a play mid onto Gori so he can't really get the roams. Good trade back and forth here in top, but they just back away. And for LGD means the package gets used onto G, but not really getting too much. So you're kind of covering your bases and stopping Gori from being able to do too much. Now it's LGD's turn to see if they can get control and get this Galio out of the mid lane.
Rift Herald spawn, get some turret plates for Gori there. Have a little bit more gold. But this moment is, at least these next few moments, is going to be all about the junglers. Both having completed Gourd Drinker, next dragon coming up on the board. How much proactivity do we see from both these teams towards these neutral objectives?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like for FPX, this has been their game plan for a lot of their, well, the one series that we saw them against RNG was pretty much like, hey, look, if we're playing around LWX and Hung in the bot lane, let's get dragons. We're already down here. We might as well pick them up. So you can already see Hung trying to set up vision control. So definitely an FPX priority for the dragons. But LGD starting to come through. And you always have G who can come in fairly easily if FPX all dive onto one card.
And LGD obviously don't want to let this side of the map fall from their control, right? They are putting bodies down here. They're making sure they have the vision game up for these objectives, not to let FPX fall into that comfort zone of getting to the late game without any scratches on.
You've got to be so careful of Eric, though. Like, as we said, like Sheen already completed, has the Kindle gem there as well, so got a good amount of health, got the Sheen procs are coming through, so you can see there, right, FPX are like, look, we don't want to fight this. We know that, yeah, G still is able to keep pushing mid and join in at any point in time. So let's just back it up, take it easy, not risk too much. And they've done a reasonably good job here, FPX, of getting that gold lead back, right? We're bang on even for the two squads. We just need to see if FPX now can continue to slow down the pace of this game and give them that late game speed.
Hey, FPX don't want to slow down, but they want to go. They're trying to get a little bit of damage on JinJiao, but still pretty strong as the Braum. And it's LGD's goal to try and get some of these plates for Eric.
Yeah, I mean, Hung's trying, right? He's just like, look,
really is.
We're not fighting a dragon. We might as well just fire it out, see what we can get. It's like, what is it?
I like this.
Yeah, you don't cast the line, you catch no fish. But Hung, I don't know.
He just does not. Okay, maybe that one didn't work out so well. Touches out the true shot barrage. But that's why I want to go back to what we were talking about in draft. Is that's why I love this kind of pick for Hung, because it enables him for those initiations. I have seen this guy pull up initiations that will blow your mind, and he hasn't even been in the league that long. And the fact that you give him the tools to do so is super huge. Not panning out just yet, but we'll see how that late game team fight goes.
But this is the problem, right? Like, he sometimes just goes gung-ho, goes nuts. And now look at the bot lane, right? That's several turret plates going over and the entire tower going over because Hong went in aggressive. They knew that Shadow was on the bottom side, so FPX's bot lane has to back it off. And they can't even respond with anything on the top lane because the wave isn't really in a good position. And you don't really want to be locked up underneath the tower by Fearness. So now FPX off that reset, trying to see if they can get Fearness. But he's reading this well, backs away from the tower, and is going to keep himself safe.
Not much you can do, and lead continuing to be there for LGD. xiaolaohu and Beichuan take this topside tower and just unlock some more of the map for themselves. The pings on the Rift Herald could be the next play for either of these teams, but right now it's not the time, as resets will be coming through.
Yeah, they're just going to back it up. I mean, you've got Eric coming off of that reset. Nearly has the Divine Thunder completed. So not seeing any of the funky builds. We're going to go back to kind of the bog standard that we've seen from Ezreal's for so damn long. Still hits like a truck. Still going to be a big carry. And I mean, you can see the difference in gold, right? Look, you've just got Divine Thunder and boots completed for xiaolaohu, whereas you've nearly got the Divine Thunder already with the Manamune completed for Eric. Like, this guy is so far accelerated. And that's where he pops off, right? 2 out of Ezreal is the nuts. That's everything you need. Like, that's it. So it's looking pretty scary for FPX.
Definitely is. I just love that we've had completely opposite juggles for both these teams. Like, it's like,
oh
Eric. My God, I can't speak. Eric gets engaged on, but the heroic inches is right there to back him up. Curtain Call comes away. You got the package across the middle. Curtain Call is still firing away, and it's Gori who gets taken down next. LGD have a very stacked up team right now, but it's leading to their doom as xiaolaohu comes in to change the game here. Shadow heals so much from the Gore Drinker, but he does not get any kills in return. Now he's under tower. And xiaolaohu going a little bit ham under here. I need to be careful as now it's Fearness going forward. This might be an overextension though from FPX as Beichuan has to go golden. Next is the Lwx to fall, and Shadow is claiming heads right now.
I mean, Shadow managing to bring this one back from the brink because turns out that it doesn't matter how many items Eric has if he just ints it. So it's just FPX collapsing on him.
You saw the big old bus coming and you were like, hey, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, Eric gets hit by this. Then you just watch him walk into the stun from Lwx, and nice job from Beichuan. But when you've got no flash, you don't have your you don't have the arcane shift. It really doesn't make a difference. So Eric falls, and this is why this fight looks so good for FPX. Imagine Eric actually being able to free hit on this. Like, this fight is over, but FPX, they find their moments. It's just that overextension at the end, unfortunately, that cost.
I just say, like, Shadow is a madman on the Rift right now. He is trying his darndest to make sure these fights always go in favor of LGD. Starting to get a little bit harder to do so, though, as you do see that Corki come online, Dagda.
Yeah, and this is where we're saying, look, Corki gonna do a lot in the side lane, especially he can push out reasonably well. Even going for the Luden's Echo build, so going for a huge amount of that poke to try and answer for LGD before they look for the engage. And especially when you've got so many members of LGD, they're going to be grouped up. This will work wonders for Gori.
About to get one shot by Yaji, but here's Beichuan. All right, not going to get it this time around. The Rockets doing a lot of work back to Yaji.
Just going to be able to walk away from that one. But LGD do respond on the bot side with the Dragon, knowing that, hey, look, Gori's going to be top side. He's already taken low when Beichuan shows.
Oh, my God.
Lwx.
Good
amount of damage there.
Yeah, I love it, though, because we were like, oh, 100% KP, like, all this stuff for LWX. And Eric's just like, nah, this is my show. I got the 3 kills early on. I'm the carry now.
Oh, well, we'll have to see if he can continue. It's like, what side of the coin do we get from Eric, right? Do we get the one at the Rift Herald fight, or do we get the, hey, I've already got my Manamune and Divine Thunder completed, so let's fire on all cylinders.
Let's game.
Exactly. We are moving into, like, a point, though, where you're like, right, how do we try and push this forward from both sides? Because for LGD, you got bot tower, you still have mid, you still have top, and they have that Rift Herald in the back pocket. It feels like your best bet here is to have Fearness kind of shove in, and now, as you see, start to move across to the mid lane and just try and get this mid lane turret down. It's going to make things a hell of a lot easier if you can get mid down, because it allows LGD to then push in mid and start to, like, facilitate themselves in towards a dive on towards the top tower. It makes it really difficult for FPX as well to keep control of their jungle with vision. Whereas on FPX's side, it feels like you're kind of like, right, we're getting to a point where we're happy, right? You've got 2 items on this Corki, a third underway very quickly. 3 kills on this Jax now means that you should be able to take over in that side lane against Fearness. So if you can try and play towards having the Jax take over in the side lane, maybe you can look for a good amount of poke off of Gori at these objectives. It feels like how FPX can carry this team.
And it feels like there's a few silent killers in the iteration of series, right? xiaolaohu is looking scary in the 3-0 Jax. He's just got to find those flanks, got to find those ways in. And LGD realize that, right? And they're staying grouped up. They're keeping a very defensive position, ready to pull the trigger with a broken. Yeah, G.
And I'm curious how they're going to use Yeji, right? Because we already kind of said, look, 1-3-1 doesn't really work for LGD. You're going to end up in a position where Gori just clears the wave too quick and is honestly just going to be able to poke out Yeji before he can actually get to any sort of position he can fully push. He can move across as well to respond if you try and like make plays mid. So I nearly feel like your best way to try and play this right now for LGD is like more of a 1-4. So you end up with Fearness on the side lane, you push in with the entirety of LGD, and then have Yeji using that ultimate to constantly pressure on towards Fearness. So then xiaolaohu isn't able to just use the fact he's 3 kills. You're always in a 1v2 with a ton of CC that's just going to leave you useless.
I thought Shadow was about to die right there. He literally turns the corner. There's 4 people right there, but they won't find him. Now he goes in for the engage. Crescent Guard on the Lwx, blocking a lot of damage. Dragon Rage kick came back to try and dissuade the follow-up. Hung has to go gold, and Curtain Call comes away, and you've got tons of damage being put out by FPX right now, and it pulls LGD off of the fight.
xiaolaohu was wandering up from river, but LGD do read it, and FPX, a bit battered and bruised, will return to base. But this is exactly what we're saying, right? A nice 1-4 here. So LGD, they win out as the 4-man unit in mid, thanks to all the extra gold that Shadow and Eric have. But they're constantly being able to keep Yeji active on the map, which means xiaolaohu can't really play too far forward. So nice job from LGD to kind of figure out how they want to approach this game.
So far, so good. Although I was talking about silent killers earlier. Another one is this Corki, starting to get ridiculously strong, working on 3 items now. We've seen the horror footage that these new Corki builds can have, and honestly, it makes me want to say it puts them on a timer for LGD, right? Like, this team fight is going to be insane from FPX. They have so many tools to execute beautifully with, and yes, we've seen some great plays from LGD. The execution there from Shadow, but it's going to require another level as we get further into this game.
You are heavily itemizing in towards the poke here, Gori, though. Like, I've traditionally seen the Ravenous Hydra come through to be like, hey, I've got like nice AoE splash damage in team fights, which I thought we might see just because you've got 4 melee champions on LGD side. But because he's not opting in towards the crit build, he's not going to have as much of that late game skating and damage from the Corki. So definitely going to be focused on seeing if they can get towards objectives, make sure that they're getting the poke down. And right now they're doing an excellent job, right? 20 seconds until Dragon. They're keeping control of River, and they've even got the package here for Gori. So they have a good amount of control over the objectives on the map.
FPX finally breaking down the middle tower on the outer edge. It's going to be nicely working for them, at least, in terms of trying to get this next objective. xiaolaohu already in the pit, already starting it up, and Shadow is here with the rest of his squad behind him. Fearness coming up from the bot lane, but the Dragon's already at 4,000 health. LGD moving in swiftly. Utilized there, a little the Valkyrie, rather. True Shot Barrage hits Lwx for a ton of his health. Beichuan takes that moment to go in. The Dragon's secured by FPX, but can they secure the fight? LGD are completely stacked up here, and the heroic entrance is going to seal the deal. FPX turn tails and run. Look at that rocket damage. That's what this build is about, and that rocket damage will be something to be fearful of.
And unfortunately, FPX just couldn't get enough of that damage down to dissuade LGD, right? We said, hey, look, set up at these objectives in river, look for Gori poke, look for Lwx poke, but unfortunately LGD, they managed to clear the mid wave, force themselves into river, and FPX can't really set up properly to keep them at bay. So LGD, they managed to push through, they get the kills, they get the dragon, And they're now setting up pretty again to move into these side lanes once more. But you can see it here, right? No package available for Gori. You really want LWX to open up a curtain call for Gori to be able to keep landing this poke, but because they'd already started up the dragon, they put a timer on their engage. They put themselves in a position where they need to separate from their backline to go into the pit. So FPX end up separated, LGD capitalized, and they managed to pick up the win.
And Hung really didn't have any influence in that fight. He was waiting on the side and never was really able to get in there. So I would like to see a fight where FPX is set up with the kind of front to back-ish style that Corki and Jhin can provide, but still it's all about this setup, right? And pulling the trigger on that dragon definitely put them in a precarious position.
And now we got to see what FPX can do, right? Because this is where they can actually start to utilize the fact they've got Gori and LWX to push out mid, try and enable xiaolaohu in the side lane, and maybe look for a bit of pressure onto these towers. The Baron is up, so if they can draw 2 members of LGD down to this bottom side, they can do a lot of damage to this Baron very quickly, but it's about trying to see if they can utilize the fact that xiaolaohu is so far ahead.
I know this has nothing to do with actual analytics there, but I love it because Fearness was trying to give the red buff to Eric. He even true shot at barraged it, but he just couldn't hold it long enough. Fearness. Anyways, now we actually have League of Legends to talk about, not my little side gig that I'm looking at. I just think those interactions are always so fun because you always think of like what the communication is like in game. I got the red here for you. I got the red here. Okay, oh, you stole it from me. But now we'll see if Shadow can steal something else.
If he's too lazy to come over and take it himself, I have no sympathy for Eric. You've got legs, you can use them. I've been told that sentence by my mom plenty of times.
Oh no. Well, we do have 3 items completed now for Eric, no matter if he doesn't want to walk. Now he'll make people around him slower to walk. The Frozen Heart was completed 3rd.
Honestly, actually, Eric's even lazier. He can shift through time and space. He has no excuse. But LGD moving in onto this top side. I like that they're trying to get vision control. Again, you can see in the map, and a 1-3-1 is set up. I'm just not sure if I really want G separated from them. You've got like really good push here for LWX in the mid lane, so it's very easy for them to keep this 3-man unit at bay in the mid. And Gori should be able to go toe-to-toe against G in this top side, as long as he doesn't miss position too hard. But LGD will still manage to get that top tower for the moment, which is a great boon. But I'm curious to see how they're going to manage with the closer turrets, the easier defend ones on FPX's side.
Got about 1 minute and 20 seconds until the next dragon comes up. Would be sole point for both of these teams. On the other side, the Baron is on the table. Either of these teams want to go for it, but it's just not feeling a Baron team for either side just yet. The damage profile still needs to gather a little bit of storm. Got a bunch of pings from FPX around that pit, though.
Yeah, trying to see if they can get vision, set themselves up. FPX is a team that can do very well if they can draw LGD into them, right? Like, Shadow doesn't really want to be walking in there early because, yes, he can face check it, but going to end up having to burn that ultimate in the process. Same when you look towards, like, JinJiao can do some face check, but still going to end up burning a lot in the process. So if they can get LGD to wander into them blind, it ends up working out a hell of a lot better for them, even just from a poke standpoint as well.
This gets me so giddy because as a play-by-play in this meta right now, it just seems like we're geared up for the late game craziness, and especially in this game specifically, we're getting towards full item build. We're getting 3-4 item completions already, and I love it. Another shout out is the Shadow Play was completed by Gori. A little bit extra damage to those tankier members here, which is sorely needed.
4-man strong coming in the mid lane though, and we just don't have pressure in side lane for either team, so it's kind of just evolved into a bit of an ARAM at the moment with nobody really able to find those moments. But FPX going back to their tried and true, the classic Baron bait 20 minutes to pull them in.
Double ADC composition, double marksman composition rather, and LGD's hand will be forced here. Dragon being soloed by Fearness. Now the TP being initiated by xiaolaohu. They want to get this trigger pool going. There's the package across, but Gori immediately has the Valkyrie away.
I mean, both TPs burnt in that exchange, and FPX end up pulled off, but LGD, they can just run back over towards this dragon.
FPX is like,
Fearness
you run
able
away,
to start
we're
this
doing
up.
it.
Yeah, they're just gonna hit it up again. FPX now, Gori TPing back in. This is gonna be 4 versus 5 as Camille on the way.
Everfrost. Hong is almost dead already just from the Everfrost catch out. The Crescent Guard comes away. The Solar Flare as well on top of it. xiaolaohu is in the middle of everybody here, but Hong has to back away now. Beichuan getting low. Doesn't go down. Is he going to die? No, he doesn't. xiaolaohu's tanking up a storm right now, but FPX need to get away because that storm is buffeting them to hell. And there you go. LGD stop the chaotic Baron start by FPX.
Yeah, they lose one, but again, they've still got mid control. They can still go over towards the track. They are
They're
sure
getting
that
PTSD
FPX are like,
right now.
Run it back. 3 more. 3rd time's the charm, right? But LGD, I mean, JinJiao going down for getting 3rd dragon like this is actually going to be pretty nice for them. So for LGD, actually picking up a bit of a win there. And for FPX, again, we're seeing they're just not really sure how to push this game forward. They're trying to use that Baron as the base, but it's not quite working out.
Is not dragon secured by LGD, puts them on sole point after all of that chaos. Getting some resets across the board, we'll get a replay.
And look, this is where keep your eyes on Eric, right? He's getting a ton of poke off in this fight, but Gori isn't really able to hit onto the key members. He's hitting on towards the front line like JinJiao and Shadow, who are able to tank up a bunch of this damage. And when this build relies on the rockets hitting and being able to get that poke off, that hitting onto people that are essentially immune to it is not going to do too much. So yeah. Gori, damage not really hitting. Lwx not really getting too much done as well as he's trying to fight back. So it ends up with a bit of a scrappy fight for FPX, where LGD are able to turn it 4 versus 1.
I will say, FPX have consistently, I know it's not big, right? But every time I'm checking, FPX have consistently been in the gold here in this game, due to first strike, due to CS discrepancies, but it's also putting them seemingly on an item advantage here. You've got 4 items already completed. You've got things coming, or 3 items working on 4 items, right? And FPX are looking geared up for these fights. And LGD seems like they're starting to lose their grip a little bit. They want to grab firm hold of it as they start up the Baron while their side lane's getting pushed. You see xiaolaohu is gunning it towards this fight up here. He's just trying to get involved. The Baron already 3,000 health. Shadow is still in the pit. Beichuan can't get in the pit, and LGD secures the Baron. They give 1 life for it, but worth.
All right, start the Celine Dion, because Fearness has basically given his life for the good of the cause here for LGD. I mean, nice job, right? FPX, they do manage to turn around into this mid lane turret, but xiaolaohu full pushing on that bot side didn't have TP up and available, so LGD, they'll lose a tower, they'll lose a kill, but they can now start to push forward with this farm buff, and it's going to make it really difficult for FPX to try and clear these waves.
And every time I see xiaolaohu on my screen, it's just like, man, this guy's just getting away with it again. Like, he is just everywhere, it seems. And the constant pressure in the side lanes, that is so integral here. You're looking at Fearness on the Camille. Yes, he could have that strength, but xiaolaohu has had that strength, and now he's able to continuously push the pressure onto LGD, join the fights when he needs to, but the second LGD back off, he's pushing again. He is relentlessly pressuring this team.
Yeah, I mean, the Jax has full advantage now in this side lane, but the big problem is, as you can see, if he's not playing around his TPs, well, LGD can look for plays elsewhere on the map. And now with the Baron, we'll have to see what they're able to do. Spreading out into 1-3-1 at the moment, but FPX back on the map first means they're able to shove in these waves, and they actually kind of keep a lot of the Baron push at bay. You can see like a minute 30 left on this, because of the kill and because of the tower, it's negligible gold difference to ride home about. Thanks to the Baron, like, you need to kind of pick it up as LGD, but where are the wave states that they can actually play off?
Scaling is getting so scary, Dagda. It's getting like, I don't even think I would want to see a Corki who gets the full build at the current iteration of Corki. It's terrifying. As Shadow gets almost half his health knocked out by a regular rocket.
Yeah, and it's not going to get much better. You can see, G being in the front to that as well. But this is the thing, right? Like, you've got the 1-3-1 win for FPX, and LGD now realize that group up on this bot wave to see if they can get the tower. But again, it's kind of a little bit too little too late. The wave is nearly cleared out. You've only got 40 seconds left, so they get one more wave through, but it's not really going to do too much.
These are available for both top laners respectively. Looks like it's just gonna be a slow burn down towards the second tower on the bot side as FPX will try to defend it. The Baron minions are doing some work. Looks like FPX will stay strong though and defend their tower.
But they lose
not
a tower.
The bottom tower.
LGD lose that tower in the top side. This is like, look at the gold. It's a 1,200 gold lead to FPX off the Baron.
Yep, exactly. That's insanity. And now we're getting TPs, heroic entrance. They want a party in the top side. xiaolaohu is CC'd up as well. He doesn't die. What? After all of that committed by LGD, the man makes it out alive.
Gori had to TP in to make sure he could save xiaolaohu, but he does make sure that Jax will survive in a day. No 350 gold bounty going across anyone, but Shadow trying to see if he can get on here. TP now in the mid lane.
This is a little bit iffy. xiaolaohu does complete it successfully without dying. Now TP is going to be utilized by Fearness to come join this dragon fight. 5 seconds here, Dagda. And LGD, no, this is so important. That Mountain Soul, that's going to do wonders against this poke team.
We need the poke from Gori. We need it to start landing. You can see there onto JinJiao, onto G, but not hitting some of these key members. Beichuan looking for Eric.
Fearness goes over the wall to try to get Beichuan. He goes back over the wall and onto the dragon. The dragon's getting bursted down here, but there's still very healthy health bars for LGD. As the fight kicks off, it's chaos. JinJiao gets away with a smidgen of health. YG goes down first, and Lwx is untouched in the background. You just can't have that happen no matter how strong you are. And that's a triple kill coming through, and FPX have soared once again.
And so much of this was thanks to the damage from Gori. You can see it there, nearly double anyone else in this, over double anyone else in this fight. And now FPX on this bot wave, they can look to end.
Those death timers are so long. Every second feels like a millennia right now as FPX run it down your base, LGD. After one fight, FPX held everything. They pull the trigger on that dragon fight, and they win the game because of it. How amazing is this FPX team to start off our year?
That is going to be it. Game 1 for FPX. A phenomenal performance coming out from FPX with reading exactly how LGD wanted to play the game. Shutting down the Camille early, 3 kills quickly going over towards the Jax. And then just understanding, look, we can win out in 1-3-1. We just have to play these fights slow when we get to dragons. Find the poke with Gori. Let this Corki build work itself. And they take down LGD in one final fight.
It seems like it's just perfectly written script for FPX. It's exactly what they wanted. And in the end, Lwx still shines. I don't know how it happens. Who writes this? But it's insane that off of one fight, when LGD looked so good through 90% of that game, one fight is all it takes. 30-second death timers is all it takes. And FPX go 1-0 in the best of 3 series.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for LGD, right? Like, they tried to play at the map, but FPX and xiaolaohu were just getting so much done every time they left, right? Like, you look at how many towers xiaolaohu managed to take just uncontested. It opened up the map, which meant that one fight like that was all it took for FPX to close it out. And you can see there on your screen the damage from Gori. This Corki build was so putting in work every time. It was so difficult for LGD to deal with when Gori's getting so much damage off that first strike, off the early kills, the turrets. It was everything going to the core.
How's that for a performance with Gori? Picking it up after losing to xiaolaohu, not too bad. But for me, it was the moment he got the Shadow Flame, right? The moment he was actually able to do damage to the front line. That was LGD's biggest success story, at least in those first fights, where they just couldn't die, it seemed like. Their health bars were so tanky. The Crescent Guards were coming out beautifully from Shadow. But as soon as that double marksman composition started coming online, it was all she wrote. And you saw it all in that last fight. The target focus was just not there for him.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. LGD, it felt like they had a game plan that they could have worked around, which was like trying to play more heavily through that top side. But we oftentimes saw them being drawn into these plays at the bot side of the map. And yes, it helped out. That first skirmish went towards Eric. It looked absolutely wonderful, but they never got to kind of capitalize on that because we saw Eric being kicked out of the fight very quickly over to Rift Herald. So there's most of your gold lead gone. it ends up super all over the place, and FPX just played the map better, played the 1-3-1 better, and then when we got towards team fights, we just had way more damage or more gold to play with.
Well, we will have to see how LGD's comeback starts, if they can bring us to 3 games tonight, because they are backed up against the walls here against FPX, a rising fire in the 2022 season. We will be right back with game number 2.